The boardroom was supposed to be a place of power, but for her, it became a stage for humiliation. A black CEO, dressed in white, sat at the center of the table, calm and composed, while laughter echoed around her. Then came the cruel act. Wine poured over her head as the men smirked, mocking her existence. "Who invited her?" one of them sneered. However, they were unaware that this single moment of disrespect would mark the beginning of the downfall of their empire. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Her name was Maya Johnson, a trailblazer who had turned a small startup into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Raised by a single mother, Maya knew the struggle of being overlooked, dismissed, and told she would never succeed. Yet, through brilliance and perseverance, she climbed higher than anyone expected. The board meeting she attended that day wasn't ordinary. It was about finalizing a $10 billion deal that could redefine the industry. Maya arrived not just as a participant, but as the key decision-maker who held the power to seal or cancel the agreement. Yet from the moment she stepped in, the atmosphere shifted. Cold stares, forced smiles, and whispered remarks followed her every move. This wasn't about business. It was about control. And in their eyes, Maya didn't belong at the table. What they didn't know was that she was prepared for precisely this moment. The meeting began with introductions, but Maya was deliberately skipped. When she spoke, they ignored her input, laughing among themselves as if her words carried no weight. Then, in a shocking display, one executive grabbed his glass of red wine and poured it over her head, while the others burst into cruel laughter. Cameras captured every second, phones discreetly recording from the corners of the room. "Cancel the deal," another man sneered, convinced that humiliating her would erase her authority. But Maya didn't flinch. She calmly wiped the wine from her face, her silence sharper than any insult. Then, she reached into her bag and placed a folder on the table. Inside was a trove of documents, proof of corruption, tax fraud, and secret dealings involving every man in that room. Contracts falsified, money laundered, laws broken, all signed by the same people laughing at her now. One by one, she revealed their darkest secrets, each page a nail in the coffin of their empire, their faces drained of color. The men who had mocked her realized too late that Maya wasn't just an outsider. They had underestimated the very person who held their future in her hands. The humiliation they had staged had backfired, and the world was about to see them for who they truly were. Panic spread like wildfire. Some tried to grab the documents, others shouted threats, but it was too late. The evidence had already been leaked to journalists waiting outside. Phones buzzed as headlines exploded across social media. The same executives who had poured wine on her were now scrambling to save themselves. But Maya stood tall, her white suit stained red, a symbol of both her humiliation and her power. The empire they thought was untouchable was collapsing in real time, and she had lit the match. The question that once mocked her, who invited her, was now a haunting echo, a reminder that their arrogance had opened the door to their own destruction. By the next morning, every major outlet carried the story. Black CEO exposes billion-dollar corruption scandal. The 10B deal was gone, the men had resigned or were under investigation, and their empire was in ruins. Maya, once treated as if she didn't belong, had become a symbol of courage and justice. But the story was bigger than her. It was about every person who has ever been silenced, mocked, or excluded because of race or gender. Her strength demonstrated that dignity can transform humiliation into power and silence into a potent weapon. The question remains, how many more will need to rise before equality becomes the norm, not the exception? Which country and city are you watching from? Take care.